Shalom and welcome everyone. My name is Yehuda Michael. I'm a program director at MCTC, Mashav Israel Agency for International Development Cooperation at the Ministry of Foreign Affairs is welcoming you to Spotlight on Women Leaders of the World series. On this series, we invite women leaders from all over the world to share their experience with us. If you have any question for our guest today, please write it down into the comment section and we're gonna get back into those questions by the end of the interview. Once again, thank you so much for joining us. We're honored to host today Engineer Ilya Espino de Marotta, Deputy Administrator and a CEO of the Panama Canal Panama. As an engineer, best known for leading the Panama Canal Expansion Project as an exclusive vice president for engineering in the Panama Canal Authority. Espino de Marotta was appointed to the role in 2012 and was the first woman in the history of the Panama Canal Authority to hold this role. Espino de Marotta obtained her master's engineering degree from the Texas A&M and her master's in economics engineering from the Universidad Santa María de Antigua. She has worked for the Panama Canal for over 30 years in various positions. She has been recognized several times with several awards of excellence for her contribution to various programs. She was awarded as Outstanding Women of the Year in 2014 by the Panamanian Association of Business Exclusives and also Forbes Magazine, including her in the list of the 50 most powerful women in Central America and featured her on the magazine cover. Welcome and shalom, Engineer Espino de Marotta. It's a pleasure to have you.
Thank you. Pleasure to be here.
Thank you for joining us in early morning in Panama. Buenos dias. That's the only word I know in Spanish. Thank you. Let me ask you the first question. Tell us a bit about yourself, your background, and your current role.
Albert Einstein, a Jewish school. So I did go to a Jewish school from elementary school, from kindergarten till I graduated. And then I got a scholarship to study marine biology, which was my real passion. But after a couple of years, a year and a half into the career, I realized that Panama didn't have a very broad research area in marine biology, which is what I wanted. So I switched into engineering, into marine engineering, which is a mechanical engineer for ships. I figured that will take me close to the water. And once I graduated from the United States in Texas A&M, I moved to Panama and I started working in the shipyard in the Panama Canal, where we do all of the ship repair for our floating equipment. And then moved around quite a bit within the agency. The Panama Canal is a company of over 10,000 people, and we have all kinds of areas. So I applied to different jobs within the institution. And in 2002, I was asked to join a small group to analyze the Panama Canal Master Plan and the expansion program. So I said, of course, I'll be happy. And then until 2016, when we inaugurated the locks, I was in the project. I started heading the project from 2012. And then in January of 2019, I went to be the chief operating officer. So after building the third set of locks, then I was in charge of all of the operations of the 1914 locks and the new locks, which I'm still holding that role. And then in January of 2020, I was assigned as deputy administrator of the Panama Canal, which is the second posting command. So I'm very happy, a wonderful career, and I've been working in the canal for over 30 years.
Thank you. We also want to congratulate you on your new position. It is really great, the work you did. You were the first woman to be assigned as an exclusive vice president for leading the Panama Canal expansion. You just mentioned it a while ago. So tell us more about the expansion project. How was it for you overseeing this project?
I started in a role as a manager in very distinct areas. I was in charge of budget control, environment, safety, contracts, and historical documentation. So it was the first time when I was leading an area where I was not an expert on. I was an expert on, let's say, budget and control of projects, but not on the other areas. And I had a small group. I was leading 100 people. So I learned quite a bit. I did have a little bit of coaching because I was a little bit reluctant on leading in areas that were not my field of expertise. But after 3 months, I felt very comfortable. I felt very good with a leading role. And I realized that I was no longer required for my technical knowledge, but for my decision-making knowledge, for my leadership skills. So in 2000, and that started in 2007. In 2012, when I moved to lead the expansion, which was now, I was leading a group of over 800 people. It was like fish in the water, not a problem. And mainly it was engineering work that I was leading at the time then, even though it was a bigger scope. Loved the project, learned a lot about reforestation, learned a lot about things that they were not my day to day. I made it a point to go and visit all of the areas of the project, get involved in all of the areas of the project to have my presence, being there and engage people and tell them I was there to help them accomplish their job and resolve their problems. So then when I moved to operations, I was leading 7,000 people. That was a big jump.
Wow.
Because I'm a marine engineer and I knew about the maritime field quite a bit because I did work in dredging also. I felt pretty comfortable and I'm doing that right now. And then when I got promoted to deputy, well, now it's a bigger scope. And now when I went to operations, I've learned about, let's say, dealing with unions, because when we were doing the expansion program, leading the expansion program, there were no uh, the unions were not allowed in the project. So it's a new world. So every time you move into a new role, you learn different things
Absolutely.
and acquire a lot of
Absolutely.
skills.
Wow, you filled a lot of the big positions and it requires a lot of work, I bet. I actually want to ask you a follow-up question. You said you run like a lot of people and you had a responsibility for hundreds and thousands of people in an organization. Um, and you're a female. And what advice would you share with young women entering a male-dominated profession? Was that the difficulty for you in the beginning and even now?
It wasn't difficult for me in the, let's say, in the professional levels. If you're a very good professional, gender doesn't really dictate. I was very humble, very respectful. I always had a desire to learn. So when I was in the shipyard, there were only two girls, and all the shops had only men. So if you show interest and you display that you have confidence in yourself and you are assertive and you're not afraid of asking questions and learning, I had a lot of doors open to me. Every time I got promoted or moved to a different position, I was relieving a man. He was previously held by a man. So I never had any women ahead of me. So I had always a lot of support from men. I think being a good professional, being very accountable, opens quite a bit of doors. So the professional life, if you're a good professional, opens doors. Moving upward into management, then it becomes a little bit more difficult, especially in a male-dominated area, because it's not it's not innate to put a woman leading, because it's never happened. But I had very good supervisors and bosses that saw the potential in me and gave me the opportunity. So when I went to engineering, first women vice president. Now that I went to operations, there's no women. So I'm trying to find these women within the agency that are capable, that are competent, and they just never been given the opportunity because of tradition, because that's just the way it was. So I have to say, when I was in engineering division in mechanical design, I was the only woman among 12 engineers. And now you can see there's like 60% women and 40% men. So some women are going now into STEM careers. So it's important to be into these careers to be able to grow and have an opportunity. So I think your professional work is what will gain you the reputation of a good professional, and it will open doors to climb. And climbing, it's a little bit more difficult because there's less openings, and because if you're in a male dominated area, it's more reluctant to look at a woman. So you need a good sponsor, and you get a good sponsor by being a good responsible professional.
Oh, that's really amazing. You'll be a role model for a lot of people from now on. So it's really great to hear from you, these perspectives. Another question will be, as a women leader, what has been the most significant barrier in your career, and how do you dealt with those barriers?
The most significant what?
Barriers?
Years? Okay.
Yeah.
Um, like I said, mm, the biggest barrier I had was to be appointed as vice president of engineering. All my other challenges were pretty much with hard work and perseverance, because it wasn't that the first time I applied for a job, I got the job. So I applied to many, many jobs and eventually I would get promotion. So persevering is very important. But I think the biggest barrier was to be recognized as a woman engineer leading a project of $5.2 billion. I think even though my peers that work with me on a daily basis had all the confidence that I could do the job, and my boss, because he's the one that proposed me to the board of directors, maybe the board of directors was a little bit reluctant about my appointment, even though I have to say they did appointment. They gave me the opportunity. So they had a certain degree of comfort, but with a little bit of skepticism. So that's when I bought my pink hard hat. The pink hard hat came from me to me. I didn't think it was going to become such an icon, but I'm very happy it did, because now it's showcasing that women can accomplish many things, great things, and there's no area that is forbidden for women. So, but the pink hard hat came about to kind of break that barrier that I'm a woman, and that was a statement that I'm a woman and I can do this job. So thank God to the help of a lot of people, because nobody accomplished great things by themselves. It's always about teamwork. It's always about support. It's always about people next to you. Um, so I would have to say that was the biggest barrier, just to have that recognition without any doubts that the woman could do the job.
Yeah, so always the beginning is a difficult, and you did it really well. Another question I want to ask you about is, what is the most important decision you made as a leader within your organization, and how do you come into decision making? What is your decision making process in
I
general?
think decision making process, it's about listening to other people, um, people that you respect, listening to advice and looking at things from different angles to come to the right conclusion and make the decision that is the best for any situation that you have. So I think you need information. You need to weight the different options, the different, and you also need to make be able to make the hard decisions. Don't just let them go because they're difficult. Not just look the other way because they're unpopular. So I think you need to be a fair person to make the right decisions, and savvy enough to to understand the different angles of a situation. So decision making is, it's not easy, but it's important. And there's many tools that allow you to make decisions. If you make the wrong decision, you can always change and correct it and acknowledge. And I'll give you a little example. At the beginning of my career, when I switched from marine biology to engineering, um, it was a change in the decision, and I lost the scholarship because the scholarship was for a specific career in a specific university. And my father said, you have 4 years to accomplish your degree, and I had to work really hard in my summers, and I had to take long credit hours, but it was a decision I made, and I'm very happy I did. So also it's very important not to make the mistake of not making a decision because of fear. If you did commit a mistake, you can always fix it. So I think that's also very important in decision making. Be able to change the course if needed.
I think that's very important, and thank you for sharing, because a lot of people, especially young people, are that's where it becomes difficult for them which decision to make. And hearing from you is really important for a lot of people who are really want to know about how to make a good decision. So thank you for that one. Um, Now I will ask you a very personal question. Can you name a person who has like had a tremendous impact on you as a leader? Maybe somebody who mentored you, and how does this person impact your life and your work in general? So,
Well, I have to say my role models were my parents, my father and my mother, because they're very, very hardworking people, very responsible, committed, and very ethical. So that was the cornerstone. That was the base for my life. So it's been my parents. I have to say that from every boss that I ever had or any coworker, I've learned something, either what to do or what not to do. And there's one of my uh, mentors that kind of, because I'm a very reserved person. So one of the CEOs of the company, the Mr. Alberto Aleman Subieta, he would always push me to speak out my mind. And that was one of the things that maybe I was lacking the most. And if you want to be a leader, you have to speak your mind. So being quiet and holding on to your ideas without saying them out, it's not going to help you. So I think that was a good help for me, because when you're doing your technical job, you don't need to be very expressive, because in engineering, the results speak by themselves, by the product that you produce. So talking was not something that I was keen to do. But my boss, he would say, well, Ilya, if you have something to say, speak out your mind, because he could see in my face, in my expression, that I had something to say. So I have to say that is very important. If you have something to say, don't be shy, don't be afraid. If you made a mistake, well, so what? Then you learn when they correct you. And if you keep the ideas to yourself, then people will not know your worth. So I think you always need to speak your mind in a respectful way, but it's important. So I have to say that's something I learned from Mr. Alberto Aleman that was very significant in the future of my career.
that's good. Always to have a good mentor in life, and I bet you are also a great mentor for many other people too. I actually want to go with the follow-up question. Was that what is, in your opinion, the characteristics of a good leader?
I think you need to have empathy. I think you need to show that you care about what other people do. Um, that was one of the things I made it a point in the project. And also now that I am in operations, I go and do transits to learn from the pilots. I sit with the line handlers to learn from their job. I think it's important that you get involved with people's job, because it sends the message that what they're doing is important, that you care about what they're doing. It gives you a personal relationship to hear from those people one-on-one, their concerns, their feelings. So I think that's important. And also you learn quite a bit from every experience that you have. So I think leadership, it's about being out there, being reachable. I think it's about being reachable and not being a distant leader, and making decisions. Leadership is about making decisions. Absolutely.
For sure, for sure. Being reachable is very important, and I agree with that point. I've reached into my final question to you. In your career, you saw leaders making different mistakes, especially in the early stage of their career. What advice you give to young women leaders today?
Be accessible. Like I said, be accessible and be reachable. Listen, listen to other people, other ideas. um, don't be afraid that people that are smarter than you are working for you. On the contrary, you want these bright minds and these innovative people working for you, because it's all about teamwork. It's all about don't be afraid of asking for help and assistance. There's nothing wrong with that. Nobody knows it all. And I think it's important to look at things from different perspective. And that's what I tell people, that it's not that women are better than men. It's not that men are better than women. We are different, and we don't need to be the same. We are different, but we both have the same capacity and capabilities of doing the same things. but women and men look at things from different perspectives. Sometimes we will focus more on the well-being of people. Men will be more considered with the efficiency of something. So when you have the mind of both perspectives, the solution or the decision is going to be better. So it's important to look for that diversity in the decision making. So I would say, don't be afraid to ask. Don't be afraid to lean on somebody. That's very important, very important. And have something that I also tell the young people is, whenever I apply for a new job, I didn't know exactly what I was going to do in that new job, but that didn't stop me or have no fear, have no fear of applying for a job. If you have the ethics, if you have the perseverance, you will learn what needs to be done. If it's something that you want to do and you like to do. So don't let the thought of, well, I'm not sure if I know 100% what that is going to entitle. If you want to do it, you will learn it. So it's very important not to lose on opportunities that might present to you because of lack of confidence. You need to have confidence and know that you can learn things. I always tell people that attitude for me is very important, because if you have the right attitude, you will strive for good, for better. If you're a brilliant mind, but you have the wrong attitude, it will get you nowhere. So attitude for me is very important.
Thank you so much. A lot of great perspective to learn from. Thank you so much for taking time and sharing this with us also. We do have a few questions actually from the audience, and my colleague Nuria Levy is just joining us to ask you some of these questions. Nuria,
Hi,
please.
Ilya. It's
Hi.
so lovely to see you again. Ilya she was actually visiting us here in Israel in 2018 during our conference of leading women making a difference. And my goodness, you have made a difference. It's such a pleasure to see you again. And hearing you speak is such an inspiration. It really is, because as you said, there are not that many women that reach the position that you have of chief operating officer. It's really amazing, especially in a place like the Panama Canal, which is such a feat of engineering itself. So again, thank you so much for being with us. I was checking a little bit our comments from our live audience. You have a lot of thumbs up and a lot of hearts.
Thank you.
And we've got lovely participants from all over the world. And you certainly are an inspiration to women that they want to, or they're considering going into a career in engineering. So Panama is so lucky to have you as a leader.
Thank you.
So we wanted to know a little bit more about the Panama Canal, and it's because now we're going through this global pandemic. We wanted to know a little bit from the point of view of the operations of the canal, how this whole pandemic has actually affected your everyday working life.
It's been quite a challenge, because this took us all by surprise, in a sense that we didn't know how big the impact it was going to be. So the first thing we did in the Panama Canal is we define a minimum critical workforce to not to shut down, because by constitution we cannot close the canal down. Plus it's a big revenue for the country. So we are about 10,000 people. We send about 6,000 people home on vacation, and we stop all of the maintenance and the non-critical functions. So we operated the canal with about 4,000 people for about 2.5 months to make sure people were home without getting sick. We also implemented very different rotation schedules of 14 days with 12-hour long days. So we would have a group of people resting at home, another group working, so you could rotate people and the infections wouldn't make us stop operations. We of course had to modify all kinds of things in the canal, the wearing of the mask, the washing of the hands. So a lot of protocols. We established a crisis management center for COVID. We mobilized people in there, 24 hours operation. We had special vehicles to transport people that were feeling ill. So it was quite a challenge, and we're still at it. In June, we reincorporated everybody back to work now that everything had been adequated, and we implemented working from home. We've never done that before in the canal. So about 1,200 people were able to work from home, and we still have about 900 working from home. And we dropped cases. We've had about 600 cases in the canal. Right now, we have about 100 active, and just it's a never-ending process. Just gotta hammer on the people to use their mask and continue. But everybody's back to work now, so that's a good thing. And we'll continue with the people that can actually work from home until things settle a little bit more.
That's fantastic. Well, you seem to have pretty good handle of the situation. Then it sounds good. But in saying so, I was curious from the point of view of the actual traffic itself as well that has reached the canal, because we saw that all countries were shutting down during this whole pandemic, and I was wondering what happened there. Was it more traffic? Did the cost of going through the canal go up? How did you handle that?
We didn't have we implemented, before COVID hit Panama, we had implemented a freshwater fee because water is becoming scarce in Panama. The rainfalls that we're getting in the last 5 years is not what we used to get. So there is some climate impact. So in February 15, we implemented the freshwater charge, and the idea was to restrict or try to have traffic of 32 to 34 vessels per day in the dry season. And we thought that this hike in the price would accomplish that. But then COVID also hit. So at the beginning of the year, our fiscal year goes from October to September. From October until February October 19, February 2000, shipping was high, 35, 36, 37 vessels per day. Once COVID hit, we went as low as 26, 27 ships per day. So May, June, July were months where shipping it dropped. We lost about, I think, 1,200 transits in total. Then August and September, it started climbing a little bit more. We went back to 32, 34 from the 25 and 29 that we had in those 3 months. But now today, we have, again, 37, 38 vessels per day. So the markets that we are seeing that have increased significantly in this October and November is grains. There has been an agreement between the USA and China. So there's a lot of grain moving over to China, and also LNG, liquefied natural gas. A lot of LNG is transiting the canal. And of course, car carriers, which was one of the most hit markets, it's coming back up again. Containers is increasing again. The segment that we have not seen improve is passengers, cruise vessels, because that's an industry that's going to be hit for a while. But yes, we're seeing, again, high traffic in the months of October and November this year. We don't know if it's a backup or just a specific punctual need, but we're still a little bit reluctant because a lot of economies are shutting down again because of, again, COVID has gotten into force. But so far, so good.
Sounds good. It sounds very good. You actually mentioned the environment at the beginning of your answering your question, and I was wanting to know, the Panama Canal recently expanded, and we were wanting to know a little bit about how was the management of the environmental impact that it had during the expansion.
Environmental impact was one of the main things we looked at before embarking in the project. One of the things that help us with not such an environmental impact is that the project was developed in Panama Canal Patrimony area. And in 1939, the Americans tried to build the third set of locks, and they stopped it in 1942 because of the war. So some of the areas where we actually ended up building the project had been impacted already during the 1939 to 1942 period. We also reforested twice as many hectares as we deforested in the areas that we actually did some impact. And the reforestation part of it was all over the country in national parks. So it was a very good project, a 5-year, 1-year plantation, 4 years of maintenance for these plantations. And it impacted small communities around these national parks, and it brought them some kind of economic advantages for 5 years, and a lot of learning on how to do growths of all kinds. The part of the water, because the canal operates on fresh water, it's a gravity fed canal because it's a canal across the mountains. Rainfall does impact us, and when we analyze the project, we have enough water to operate the existing canal as long as the rainfall continues. But we did have to do water saving measures this summer. The new locks have water saving basins that allow us to recycle 60% of the water of each transit. But we implemented an operation in the 1914 locks to allow us also to save, and we would save about 6 lockages of water per day during the dry season. The problem with this measure is that then your shipping capability diminishes because the process is slower, so you could put less ships through. So environmentally, the impact was managed fine. Now we are putting out a bid. We put out the request for qualifications in September this year for a $2 billion water project to ensure enough quantity and quality of water for the canal. And 55% of the population of the country drinks water from the lakes that also hold the water for the Panama Canal to operate. So we're responsible for drinking water of 50% of the population. And we've actually had a lot of engineers of ours 2 or 3 times gone to Israel to get information on how this country manages water, because you guys are expert at managing water. So we're learning from Israel and also from Netherlands on how to do water projects.
That's amazing. Thank you so much. And with that, I would say that you're more than welcome to come back to Israel anytime.
I'm ready.
Great. Please God, very soon we'll open all the skies and everybody can travel after we all get vaccinated, please God.
That's right. I'll be there.
Yes, indeed. It's been so great to have you back with us. It's really lovely to hear you explain all these fascinating feats of engineering. As I say, it's amazing to have you with us. It's been such a pleasure, and we wish you all the very best. I know you're a very busy lady, so you've got the whole day ahead of you, and you have our best wishes from the Center Carmel. And we'll hope to see you soon back in Israel.
Thank you. Thank you, Nuria. Nice to meet you, Yehuda. Have a great day.
Nice to meet you. Thank you so much for being with us. Thank you so much. Our website and social media for upcoming events. We'll be back again with another guest next month. Thank you again. Thank you so much.
Bye.
Bye. Take care. Stay safe.